live here on the ESPN Esports League of Legends show. Has done a lot of great work here for ESPN Esports over in Korea. Also has her own YouTube channel with a lot of interviews there. It's Ashley Kang, reporter based in Korea. Ashley, always great to see you. We were just talking about very briefly the KeSPA Cup there. You were there. What are some of your major takeaways from the Cup this year?
So KeSPA Cup is the off-season tournament in Korea, and I think my biggest takeaway was, number one, being able to see all the rosters in action, because that was the first time all the teams were playing after, they rebuilt their teams, and we were curious how Kana and Roach and Cuz was going to do. GenG, who have won the off-season, was going to smash through the tournament. However, they got beaten by T1, who in turn was beaten by Afreeca Freecs, and Afreeca Freecs also went on to defeat Sandbox Gaming on the finals. So I would say that it is premature to directly reflect the KeSPA Cup results into what we're going to see in 2020 spring and summer, because not all the teams had the time to get the teamwork together. However, yeah, it was exciting to see all the rosters, like new rosters, play on the stage for the first time.
So sure, Afreeca Freecs won the KeSPA Cup. They went 3-0 in semifinals, in finals against Dragon X and Sandbox. But how much stock do you put into the KeSPA Cup? Like, how much should people put weight into the tournament going into the regular season?
You have to remember that some of the teams only had the time to practice about a week or two before the tournament, and especially when some of the teams have completely revamped the roster. For example, KT roster, all of the members haven't played in that team for previous years. So I would say it's a good teaser on what we're going to see in the spring split, but I wouldn't take it too hard, so to speak.
When you look at the LCK and Korean League of Legends as a whole, Ashley, it's now 2 years in a row that a non-Korean team has won Worlds, right? Can you just take us into the minds of Korean League of Legends fans, and also just being there? Are people freaking out? Is there a cause for concern? Like, what is the mood like among Korean League of Legends fans and followers?
I think the 2018 World Championship result was a huge shock and a wake-up call. I think Koreans have become very used to seeing Koreans, like a Korean team, win all the best of fives, and seeing two Korean teams on the final stage for World Championship, as a lot of the viewers would have been. However, that has not been the case. And I think in 2019, the fans have come into a bit of an acceptance, and also realizing, hey, thinking about what do we need to do in order for South Korea to come back to top and become competitive once more. And some people will say that the LCK as a region needs a bit more investment, and other analysts or fans might say that LCK teams individually need to be more innovative on how they approach the games. But I think LCK has come to a bit of an acceptance in the current status that we are indeed the second or even third best region in the world, and how do we get back to the top?
That's very interesting. There are a lot of teams that we will talk about that will help LCK get back to the top there. One thing we should mention, you and Jacob Wolf did some excellent reporting on Griffin and their tumultuous offseason. You were recently at the KeSPA Cup and actually saw some minor protests that were going on?
So there were some protests, like lone people standing in front of the KeSPA Cup venue holding up signs that are calling for a different action from Riot Korea and KeSPA, because both parties were criticized for their, handling and possible involvement in the recent Kanavi incident. So I think that did reflect some of the public consensus on the current situation. I think even the people did enjoy KeSPA Cup, and I've been told that it broke the viewing records. Some people are still a bit hesitant about how KeSPA Cup and Riot Korea is going to continue nurturing Korea. Yeah.
Ashley, I found it interesting. It might have been one of your interviews, actually. Chovy, who played with Griffin and is now with Dragon X, went there along with CV Max. He said that the morale of the team is very high. He also mentioned that CV Max seems very calm and happier than he was before. You saw CV Max at length on stage at KeSPA Cup. What did you notice?
So I also interviewed Chovy, and Chovy did mention that the team atmosphere is very friendly because all of the players are quite young. Most of them are 17, 18, 19, and they get along with others really well as CB Max, which is reflected by some of the videos the team has put up on YouTube or Twitch. CB Max, he's a bit younger compared to other Korean coaches, and he tends to be a bit more nervous when he steps onto the booth. But I didn't see anything abnormally strange from how CB Max was doing, and obviously he was getting along with the players. And many people have been asking me the question whether, hey, is CB Max still the acting coach of Dragon X after the recent controversies? Yes, he has been coming to all the KeSPA Cup stages. Yes, he has been going into the booth to lead all the pick and bans, and I wouldn't say that it has been too abnormal. There hasn't been any weird stiffness between CB Max and the rest of the Dragon X players.
So I want to ask about that. We reported between you, myself, and Tyler that Chovy turned down a multi-million-dollar contract to stay with CB Max and go to Dragon X. In the event that CB Max, and we don't know the answer to this because it's the ban is delayed / suspended pending further investigation, but in the event that CB Max is no longer the coach of Dragon X because Riot concludes, or the third party that is being hired concludes that Riot's initial findings were correct, how does that change the season this year for Dragon X, in your opinion, if he's out the door?
Out for the rest of the split?
Right. I'm saying, if they find that the original investigation was correct, that the ban is upheld permanently, or the suspension is upheld in the way that it was originally going to be, how do you think that changes things for Dragon X?
I think it will impact the team very much. I do wonder whether the impact is going to carry on to a point that the players might leave on the summer split. I can't comment on it because I don't know the full details of how long the contract's going to run. But from my impressions and from what I've been told from other people who have insight on Dragon X, it does seem like Coach CB Max has a very heavy hand on dictating what the team direction is like, what the play style is going to be like, and what the atmosphere is like. And there seems to be at least a reasonable amount of trust from the younger players because, as I mentioned, Dragon X has very young roster that the CB Max will be the one to foster their talent to be good players in the LCK stage. So yes, it will be a very heavy thing because CB Max also dictates the pick and ban. CB Max is the coach. CB Max is the leader of that Dragon X roster at the moment.
Well, let's end on this. How do you think Griffin will do this year?
Griffin have lost Chovy, and they have lost Lehens, even though Sword is going to continue playing on the team. And given the other roster changes, such as how strong GenG looks, how strong even the Afreeca Freecs look after KeSPA Cup, I would say that Griffin would have a very tough time going into the playoffs just because how competitive the LCK looks right now. Because I wouldn't say that even though Nahan has been a very solid player in Dragon X last year because Nahan and Chovy swapped teams coming into 2020, I wouldn't say he has a high ceiling as Nahan, high ceiling as Chovy. And even though Kebby, we have seen some playtime from him, Lehens is a spectacular support player, and Chovy, for now, seems to be a downgrade from Lehens, who has moved on to Hunter Life Esports.
One last question, actually. You mentioned teams that will lead the way in the LCK. Many people are pointing to GenG and the miraculous moves that they did in the offseason, including Clid. When you talked to Clid, I couldn't help but laugh because it kind of sounded like he boomered T1. And he said, you know what, I want to be around some people that are more my age and I want to be in a friendly atmosphere. He seemed to be in very good spirits, though.
And it's quite interesting because given how contested Clid was for this offseason as a free agent, I expected him to sign a one-year contract. And when I looked at the global contract database, it actually seemed like Clid has signed a multi-year contract, and that tells me that Clid really liked what he saw in GenG. GenG is one of the teams in the LCK who have a bit more Western investment, and that does impact the team atmosphere, which seems to be a bit more family-like, more light-hearted, but also they will take the work very seriously. So, and Cleat also has a formal friendship with BDD as well as Rascal, and Ruler, as many people have testified, is a player that's really good to get along with. So Cleat seems to be really happy, and I think Cleat and other players in GenG can put a fate on how that team is going to perform on 2020, because that does look like the strongest team coming out of LCK at the moment. I don't know whether he OK Boomer T1. It is true that Cleat is in a bit of a similar age group in GenG, because Rascal's the oldest player in the team, and the rest of the players are actually in a very similar age, younger than T1.
Ashley Kang is a great interviewer and reporter based in Korea. Does a lot of fantastic work for us here at ESPN Esports as well. Thank you so much for your time, Ashley.
Yay! 감사합니다.